You know, as much as I would like to be able to put behind yesterday and the last couple of days, I'd like to be able to put all of that just behind me, behind us, and just move forward. I don't honestly feel that I can do that. I didn't feel like I would be able to just go right back to regular old, hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show. After yesterday's video. Yesterday's video definitely struck a chord with a lot of people. It struck a nerve with a lot of people. It probably caught a lot of people who rock with After Prison Show completely off guard. And I not only accept that, I also respect that to the fullest. A lot of people had a lot of things to say, and a lot of people learned about things that they probably didn't even know were taking place. All of this began last Thursday when I was doing these live streams on the Bobo. A lot of people were asking yesterday in that video, what is the Bobo? Twitch.tv/AfterPrisonShow, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do a live stream there, a little After Prison Show morning show called Kicking the Bobo. You should definitely come rock with that thing. There's not a lot of people who do actually rock with that thing, to be completely honest with you. However, starting last Thursday, most certainly this thing would get a lot more attention than it had prior to that day. And that was because I aired out a lot of dirty laundry between what was going on with Danny and me. There were more people than normal who saw those Bobos that took place on Thursday and Friday, but ultimately the majority of people who rock with After Prison Show never saw those Bobos, never had any idea that there was any kind of static, turbulence, and ultimately some very bad situations and arguments that were taking place between Danny and I. So I think to myself, did I do the right thing by putting everything out there yesterday? If I hadn't aired out the dirty laundry good enough on Thursday on that Kicking the Bobo live stream, I most certainly did a damn good job of it in yesterday's video. For those of you who had no idea that there was any kind of issues between Danny and I do apologize for hitting you completely out of left field in yesterday's video. You guys could not possibly imagine the immense amount of pressure and stress I had been on since Thursday, Friday, all weekend, leading up to yesterday when I would think to myself, I had to do something about this situation, address this situation, and try to do so in the best possible way. I could have sat in the chair just like I'm doing today, trying to explain things. I felt like it was better having me and Danny do that face-to-face. But ultimately, what I would think to myself and realize after doing that was that maybe that wasn't the right way to go about that at all. Maybe I handled this entire situation completely wrong. I ultimately feel like I did from the very beginning, airing out the dirty laundry. The only way that I can feel any type of okay about doing so is, well, guess what? I kept it 100 with you guys. Kept it absolutely as real as it gets. And you know what? Sometimes keeping it real is too real. And sometimes keeping it real sucks. You know, had I never addressed what I did starting on Thursday and then leading up to yesterday's video, had I never addressed that, when people thought about Danny and After Prison Show, they would have thought about riding off into the sunset, possibly a happy ending. At least that's what I think people would think, but I've been getting it wrong since last Thursday, so there's a good chance that that's not accurate at all. However, I do realize that yesterday's video left everyone with a different opinion, or maybe quite a few people, maybe most everybody with a different opinion of Danny. And I hate that. I truly do. You know, when I talk about the immense amount of pressure and stress that I had been on since last Thursday, when this argument would begin between Danny and I think one of my biggest fears, actually I've got quite a few biggest fears here on After Prison Show with everything that I do. And I don't say that to be egotistical and feel like, look at me, I am the captain now. I don't say that for that reason at all. Because when it works, you know, there's a good possibility that I can take some credit from that. And when things don't work out and they fail, I absolutely have to take the credit for that as well. My biggest fears here, and especially in relation to Danny, who I consider the biggest success story here on After Prison Show. I know a lot of people might disagree with that. Joe, maybe you're the biggest success story. Or Dave, or Rabbit, or Shannon. Those people are successful as well, and special shout out to those people. But when we introduced Danny, this brought on an entirely different level of support, far exceeding the amount of money that we all raised together for this man. We did raise a lot of money, no questions asked about that. And that money most certainly helped this man in more ways than anyone could ever possibly imagine. But not only did we come together in such a way to raise so much money for him, you know, this brought the After Prison Show Army, the APS Army, together in a way that I had never seen before. Actually, I've seen it before. We did it with Dave when we raised the money for his lawyer. You know, everybody was working toward a common interest here. This positive train, this positivity train. That was a truly amazing thing to realize I had created. But ultimately, that also put a lot of stress and pressure on me that things better work out the right way. Because if they don't, and they go sideways or south or any other direction except hooray, Joe, you're going to bear the entire brunt of the blame in that situation. You have to, because you created this. I never wanted such a big success here on After Prison Show to turn out the way that it seems it turned out since yesterday's video. Leaving such a bitter taste in people's mouth, leaving people feeling so angry in this situation. I never wanted that at all. I wanted to be transparent. I had already done so. I had spoken too much. Joe, you said too much. Well, you really stuck your foot in your mouth this time, so now you got to do something. Now you have got to address this, put it all out there, and correct what you have messed up. Right your wrongs, Joe. And I thought that I was going to be able to do that yesterday. You know, it was never my intention to vilify Danny in yesterday's video. And that's exactly what it seems like I've done. And I'm not going to sit here and try to change the way that you feel about this situation, because I want to tell you this. I have to say this. I respect how any and all of you feel in regards to Danny and After Prison Show. I have to do that. That's keeping it 100. I can't sit here and attempt to change the way that you feel about this. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. I am trying to get to some closure for myself. And a big reason for that is because, you know, my wife, she saw like how distraught I was all weekend, how stressed out I was. I wasn't myself at all. That was pretty evident. But my wife would ask me after yesterday's video when she got home from work, because she knew that, you know, we were going to see Danny and we were going to try to resolve the situation and talk about this man-to-man, face-to-face. That was the only right way I felt to do so. She asked me, did I feel better since getting that video done and uploaded? And I told her, no, I don't feel good at all. Actually, I feel just as bad. I personally didn't feel good about that. And the reason for it is because I thought I was doing the right thing. And sometimes, actually, probably more than a few times throughout the course of After Prison Show, and I hate saying this because at this point now I just sound like a broken record, but not always do I get it right. Yesterday, another perfect example of that. This situation never had to happen between Danny and I, this argument that took place, and I'm going to get to that. I can't emphasize enough how much of the responsibility I personally have to take in this situation. Before I do, though, I want to continue with some of these other fears that I carry with me every day while doing these videos. When I first started After Prison Show, I wanted this thing to succeed. Anybody who does YouTube, that's what you want to happen. I told myself from the very beginning, if this ever does succeed, I want to help people. I've questioned myself in that regard a lot lately. Should I continue? How do I continue? Who do I continue? Because honestly, I feel like a lot of times I don't ever get it right. I consider myself, I laugh and joke and say this, like I'm the prison Dr. Phil. I am nobody who has ever seemed to get this shit right. I feel like with every dramified situation, with every hiccup, bump, major turbulence, absolute plane crash disaster, maybe that's going a little too far, but every situation that arises that tends to be some drama here, you know, I lose more and more rapport with you. I lose respect with you. I lose the trust of you. And that's depressing. That is super sad. It makes me feel guilty and ashamed. Like, what right and what business do I have thinking that I can get this right, attempting to try to help people? This has not ever been easy. And I don't want to give up trying to help people. I don't. I just don't know what to do. I guess the only thing I can say in regards to that is we'll just have to wait and see. If there's an opportunity where we can help, I'll do so. I won't ask of you to do so. But I want to get back to a lot of what was said in response to yesterday's video. And a lot of what was said was, one of the biggest things that I saw was, you know, Danny was ungrateful. Danny took the money and he ran. I don't personally feel that that's how it happened. And maybe you're looking at me like, Joe, you're biased. Joe, you're delusional. But this is my personal opinion. I'm not trying to change the way that you feel. If you think that that's the way things played out, you're entitled to that opinion. But personally, I don't think that Danny was ever ungrateful. There were certainly times that we argued, for sure. But he did say in yesterday's video, he made a very valid point, and it was something that definitely spoke to me. Yesterday's video was almost an hour long, so maybe some of you didn't hear this. But if you didn't, you know, there was a point in that video yesterday where Danny said, had it not been for After Prison Show, he wouldn't have anything. And he probably still wouldn't be out here in the free world. This man's life changed. And it was changing for the better. He met a woman, he got married. Things were going amazing for this guy. And he wanted to step away. He wanted to step away, not be in the public spotlight, and just enjoy his time with his wife. I didn't see anything wrong with that. But that's just my own personal belief in the situation. And, you know, I knew that at some point he would come back. And when he came back, that was going to be like this amazing thing. He said in yesterday's video, you know, he wanted to be able to introduce his wife. A lot of people also said that he had no right to ask for his videos to be removed. And you know what? Maybe you're right. But that's what he had asked. And I should have respected that when he did ask me that. Had I done so a month ago, none of what would have ended up happening starting last Thursday would have happened. Or, better yet, had I called him and talked to him, I'm quite sure that I could have changed his mind. And that is the biggest point that I want to make in conclusion to all of this. I want you to allow me to talk to you about having somebody that you can talk to. This is where I take the absolute brunt of the blame, and I got no choice but to. If I did things wrong, and most certainly I feel like I did quite a few things wrong, this was probably the biggest thing that I regret from this entire situation. And that is when we filmed that very last video with Danny, not yesterday's video, 2 months ago or however long ago it was, where Danny said that he was taking a break. I didn't maintain much, if any, contact with him after that, which I absolutely should have. You know, me and Danny don't have much of anything in common at all. We come from two completely different lives, two completely different paths. But one thing that we definitely do have in common, and some of you might find this hard to believe, but this is the absolute truth, is we are both, him and I, are both very lonely people. He only has his wife left at this point. Me, I've got my wife. It probably seems like I've got quite a few other people as well, but the truth of the matter is I rarely ever talk to anybody. And I do that to myself. I'm like this lonely loner. And I'm not looking for pity here. I'm just offering perspective. I am an island of one, and I'm used to being alone. I think whatever life experiences has made me that way. I don't have a lot of people I get a chance to talk to. And my wife, I don't like to talk to her about a lot of the things that I'm feeling because I don't know how to have those conversations. I feel like Danny is the exact same way. And when I stepped into his life with After Prison Show at the job fair where we first met him at, this was a man who had done all of this time, who had been through so much stuff that none of us could even imagine, who had nobody at all, no hope at all, and who only wanted to go back to prison. And from the moment that I stepped into his life with After Prison Show at that job fair, I offered this guy an entirely new opportunity, a new beginning, with so much support attached to it, far exceeding money. But don't get me wrong, there was most certainly a lot of that as well. I'm not going to beat around the bush and act like money wasn't huge in the Danny story. It most certainly was. But the amount of support that came along with it, not only me personally, but Dave and Cody and all of you as well, I think that that was just as important and big as the financial side of it was as well. And then when we made that final video, where he was taking a break, stepping away, wanting to focus on his life and his privacy, all of that went away with it as well. And I lost contact with him. I just stopped calling. Because again, I'm a loner. I do it to myself. And when you are a loner, and when you are alone and feeling lonely and all of that, I equate that to what it's like to be in solitary confinement, where you are left with nothing other than your thoughts and sometimes the worst thoughts that you can have. You most certainly can become your worst enemy. You can become cancerous. Your thoughts can become that way as well. So, about a month ago when Danny reached out to me asking for me to take down his videos, and I didn't do that, nor did I even respond to that, it would be from there that things would just get really ugly. As of recently, starting on last Thursday. But as I think back onto everything in hindsight, because what else can I do at this point? As I think back onto it, had I just picked up the phone and called this man a month ago when he sent me that text, all of this could have been resolved. I'm quite certain of that. And this could have carried on being that great story that it had been for so long. I have to take so much of the responsibility for that particular part of this. And as cliche as this is going to sound, because it's going to sound really bad, who knows? Maybe that text a month ago was a cry for help, was a, hey, where the hell are you? I thought we were friends. What the hell kind of a friend was I? I am not asking for you to change the way that you feel about this situation, and you're entitled to that. And I've said that multiple times throughout this, so, it could be perceived that that's what I'm trying to do, but I promise you I'm not. What I am trying to do is offer perspective, because as much as I was hoping that yesterday's video would offer some closure, some explanation, some resolution, and some deading of some drama that should have never been there in the first place, all yesterday did was rip this Band-Aid right off of a wound that shouldn't have ever been there in the first place and leave everyone with this bitter taste and feeling, because I allowed that to happen. Not purposely, but regardless, I did. Certain people may feel like Danny went from the success story to the fail. I don't feel that. The man's still free. And he's most certainly struggled along the way in terms of dealing with his own emotions. Emotions was a big part of what allowed this situation to get to where it did on my behalf. His as well. And for whatever it's worth, because I know it's not worth very much of anything at all, one thing that I don't think really made yesterday's video, it might have. Yesterday's video was long, so I can't remember every single detail. But one thing that most certainly was spoken about, not sure if it was done so on camera, was the fact that, because me and Danny were talking and I was there, you couldn't even imagine what it was like when I got there first thing yesterday. And to see the look on his face when we showed up, me and Cody did. That man was so happy to see us because he hadn't seen us in forever. He was actually over it, over the anger and the bitterness and the wanting of his videos to be removed. And he actually, said that it was okay if we put them back up. And, to be honest with you, he even still wanted to continue to do videos. He was actually wanting to come back. He missed this. But I most certainly didn't handle this situation correctly at all. And the reason I sit here in front of you today is to just try to offer some further explanation, perspective, and try to get to some kind of a closure in this situation. I'm really sorry that I allowed everything to turn out the way that it did. It could have been prevented, but I didn't prevent it. That's kind of whack, but that's the truth. I didn't prevent it. I wanted to get all of this off of my chest, and I greatly appreciate you guys allowing me to do so. Moving forward, tomorrow I'm going to get back to After Prison Show. The content that I enjoy creating, the content that I hope you guys enjoy seeing. I can't tell you how truly grateful I am to have each and every one of you rock with After Prison Show. I try to keep it as real as I possibly can with you at all times. And I am not too proud to admit when I get things wrong and I make mistakes. And folks, I make mistakes quite a bit. But regardless, I will continue to try to do it better, all the while still trying to help folks in whatever way that I personally can. Moving forward. Thank you.